Soldiers, sailors, airmen, and women enlist in the armed forces for many reasons, including a sense of duty, patriotism, the adventure, travel, and adrenaline. When service members are injured or wounded and can no longer perform their military duties, they quickly find themselves removed from their team, no longer serving the purpose for which they trained.
I came back from Afghanistan in 2013, and it was kind of a trial and error of finding out, after the military, what's next in life.
Motorsports offers an opportunity to regain that sense of identity within a safe, fast-paced team environment, providing a renewed sense of purpose. Like in the military, in motorsports, the goal is in accomplishing the mission, winning as a team, collectively celebrating the successes and supporting teammates through the losses. Operation Motorsport also offers virtual engagements and recovery opportunities through an iRacing league, engaging beneficiaries in a safe, competitive environment from the comfort and safety of their home. Operation Motorsport believes in the power of team, identity, and purpose.
On average, 22 veterans from North America commit suicide every single day. That's one veteran for every second of this video.
On Remembrance Veterans Day weekend, November 2022, Operation Motorsport is returning to Anglesey Circuit, Wales, United Kingdom to compete in the 12-hour Race of Remembrance. This event allows our beneficiaries to compete as a team, shoulder to shoulder, with other veterans and racers. We want to use this opportunity to honor your hero's service. And for a $25 donation, we will place your hero's name on the hood of our race car. 100% of the donations received will be used to support our Race of Remembrance operation. Help us honor 500 heroes and donate today.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn them. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the second round of the 5th season of Operation eMotorsport iRacing League, live from iRacing's virtual Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California. I'm your host, Rachel Whiteford, joined by my colleague in the booth tonight, Devin Henry. Our producer for this evening is Ryan Bauer. Ryan's using cameras created by the great Dougie Beard. Well, it was a wild time out last time at Road America, but this time it's going to be no less exciting. We're here at Sonoma. This is the carousel layout of this wonderful racetrack. Originally known as Sears Point Raceway from the 60s through to the 80s, and then it was Golden State Raceway in 81, Infineon 2000, 2012. This place has got drag racing, it has road course racing, most notably for hosting IndyCar and NASCAR, as well as NHRA Camping World Drag Series. This place has it all in wine country, California. What more could you want? Wine and racing, just not at the same time, obviously. That would be bad. But these drivers will be taking it around this wonderful circuit out here in the desert. This place is 2.5 miles in length, 12 turns, and they will be racing under pretty reasonable conditions today. Track's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, got a 5-mile-an-hour wind from the north. Humidity is about 50%, Devon, which could make things a little sticky. Like last time, we had a bit of traction fun at Road America under similar conditions, so with the dirt and dust we'll see kicked on the track here, it could definitely make things interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever you come to a track on the west side, you always have to, even in the sim world, anticipate that the track might be a little bit warmer than usual. One extra piece that everyone is going to have to be concerned about. Admin said, we want you to pit. No, we need you to pit. Everyone's starting on a 45% fuel capacity. That means that everyone in this 30-minute sprint race is going to have to come down onto pit road. That's going to add a very special wrinkle to this race, Rachel.
I think that'll improve things hugely. Well, before we do any more, we're going to have another chat to Jason Leach. Welcome back. You are the Chief Operating Officer of Operation Motorsport, and thank you for joining us in the booth once again. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great, Rachel, and Devin, it's great to be back with you guys again. Really enjoyed last week's race. We started off really clean, really tight, good, solid racing. Got a little hairy there in the middle and the end of the race, but everybody had a great time, and it looks like we got a great turnout so far for this race here in wine country.
We certainly have, of course. We talked a little bit about the programs you guys do at Operation Motorsport. Can you give us a bit more detail about the program breakdowns you guys have?
Yeah, so again, what you're seeing here tonight is part of our diversionary therapy program. This is a place for people to come together in a kind of safe space in the virtual world, get together, have some camaraderie, some friendly competition across all three classes, and just get to know each other and learn more about our programs. And then what this leads into is our immersion programs, which are our real life activations, where you'll see some of our beneficiaries come in and partake as crew members, series support, race control, scrutineering, anything that takes place inside the racing world between SRO, IMSA, and FEO Motorsports. Chances are we've got a way to make an opportunity happen for a beneficiary to get involved.
And speaking of things along those lines, in the, of course, programs you guys have, I believe you're taking part in the Race of Remembrance coming up this November with Skip Barber Racing. Can you tell me about that?
We are, absolutely. So, our last Race of Remembrance attendance was in 2019. We had to take a break because of COVID. But for those that are not familiar, the Race of Remembrance is a 12-hour endurance race over our Veterans Day or Remembrance Day, depending on what country you're in Anglesey Circuit in Wales. So this year, unlike any other year we've attended, Skip Barber Racing is going to ship 2 Honda Civic Type R race cars, one in a United States livery, one in a Canadian livery, honoring our veterans and military members. And we're going to campaign that car across a 12-hour race there at Anglesey. For those who aren't familiar, it's right on the cliffs of the Irish Sea in November, so we can expect some rain, we can expect cold weather, we can expect winds, or we can expect nice 60-degree sunny days as we saw in 2019. We saw a mix on Saturday and Sunday. But what's really important about that race is on Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. local time, the race is red flagged, And if you're a veteran, you're asked to don your headgear and your ribbons or your medals. If you're still serving military member, you're asked to don your dress uniform. And everybody comes together to do a wreath laying and remembrance ceremony. And that's really what the race is all about. The race is an excuse to get a bunch of military and veterans together just to remember those who are no longer with us, or remember the sacrifices of friends and families across the military community. Interesting enough, though, too, we are the only North American contingent to take part in this race. So it's quite the honor for us to go forward and represent the United States and Canada amongst our UK brothers and sisters.
That is awesome. We'll hopefully have a little bit of a chat more about that during the race. But first, we've got a couple of videos here. These are 2 interviews spotlighting a couple of beneficiaries and their experiences from an SRO event that happened back in May of this year. Afterwards, we'll have a chat to Jason about the same subject, so enjoy this.
Hello, this is Jason with Operation Motorsport. We'd like to introduce you to some of our beneficiaries who were active during the GT World Challenged SRO race at New Orleans Motorsport Park this past weekend.
This weekend I've been working with Steve over on GT4 and with Charlie over on the TC cars, doing the tech inspections for them, checking the ride height, weight, camber, and also the tire pressure and things like that. When they come back from the races, then the top 3 or top 5, depending on the class, have to come through and get everything checked all over again to make sure that they ran the race within the regulations. Sometimes we have to pull some parts and measure those. It all depends on what comes down from the technical director. Operation Motorsport has actually done a lot for me in a really short period of time. It's pretty amazing to feel part of a team again and like have some kind of a purpose. It's like really, really amazing. And the value for me, at least, it goes way beyond just like, oh, it's very cool that I'm learning how to do ride height on cars. Yeah. Like, that is absolutely not like the main value for me.
Yeah.
You feel like you got some worth, man.
Yeah,
worth something. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know. In here, I feel like I can contribute. I mean, it's not a big contribution, but it doesn't matter. You know, even in the military, somebody's got to get the food ready. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I can help here. I can do stuff. I can learn stuff. Yeah. People are patient. Nobody acts like I'm stupid if I ask a silly question. Yeah. I'm learning. Yeah. You know, and it feels really nice to be somewhere where I can learn something that I'm actually interested in and feel part of a team and like there's people I can count on and things like that.
Well, I think
so. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's done a lot for me.
Hello, this is Jason with Operation Motorsport. We'd like to introduce you to some of our beneficiaries who were active during the GT World Challenged SRO race at New Orleans Motorsport Park this past weekend.
This weekend I've been over here with Race Control, and it's basically been seeing behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing, kind of get to peek behind the curtain and see all the stuff that's actually happening and what makes all these things on the track actually were a central thing. And it is like being in a TOC, a Tactical Operations Center, in a deployment scenario, surprisingly. So you're in there and all these screens, all this activity, things are going 100 miles an hour, and everybody is juggling 7 things at once. Whenever there's any sort of race event, whether it's just laps that people are doing or if it is an incident that's happening during a race or something like that, all of the things that happen that we see manifest themselves in terms of a race. These are the things, and these are all the people who are pulling the strings and pulling the levers to make it all happen. So Operation Motorsport is all about having a team identity and purpose and kind of restoring that for people who left the military like myself and no longer really have that sort of source for that. And this is a way to this has been a way for me to reinvigorate that kind of same part of me that otherwise I don't really get. It doesn't really scratch that itch. But it's meant a lot. It's meant a great deal to me to actually be able to kind of activate that part of my own brain and that part of my own self that otherwise is just kind of going dormant.
Some awesome interviews there with some of the beneficiaries of Operation Motorsport. And well, we're going to get ready to go to our grid in just a second's time, but what classes are they in? That's the important thing to look at here. We've got 3 classes tonight and 2 different cars. We have the GT3 cars and the Pro class drivers. Now, they're either competition license holders, both past and present in IMSA, SRO, CTC, or other sanctioning bodies. And they are either iRacing A-Class road license and SR of 3.99 and overall over 1900. Then we have the two GT3 classes. The beneficiaries, they're enrolled in any of Operation Motorsport programs. iRacing participation is covered by Recaro and the USO there for those guys. Now, we have the open class. They are the either serving military members or veterans not enrolled in OPMO programs. They are staff, volunteers, or supporters of Operation Motorsports. So these guys will be out there in the GT4 cars. And we're going to get a quick look at our grid. We have a full pace lap here tonight, so we'll have a little bit of time, but we'll look at our pro class first. Up front, we have Liam Rizikis leading the way in that 5 car with Matt Smotherman in second place, Tyler Guillemette in third, Jake Steinbrink in fourth with Hunter Reeve in fifth place, Martin Wallace in sixth, Taylor Parsons in seventh, Joe Stiffel in eighth place, Rodney Campbell ninth, and Ed Nelson in 10th. Behind them, we have Jared Roadheaver in 11th place, Dan Fendick in the 12th spot in the lead for the open class. Behind them, it's Mario Gonzalez for your pro class, with Val Asieno in the second place for the open, Scott Andrews and Jason McSparron 15th and 16th for the pros. Then we have Connor Parisi, the pole sitter for our beneficiaries. Behind them, it's Mason Smotherman, Jesse Elliott, and in 20th place, the USO car, piloted by, I would believe, if I can remember this correctly, that is going to be Adam Benaway. Specialist First Class Adam Benaway there. Then we have Tyler Reed, Anna Poppenhouse, Brock Hogan, Brian Winker, another beneficiary there. Actually, he's not. Sorry, John Winker is the beneficiary, the other Winker. Rick Haslett, Greg Meismer. We have Joshua O'Connor, beneficiary, John Fix, and Charles Beauchel there. And behind them, beneficiaries Philip Chartier, Brian Knight, Papa Knight. We have Elliot Whitefield, Chris Ramirez, who I don't think is racing, as usual, and Jake Porter. I'm not sure if he's racing. We'll find out. I think he is. But either way, that is our field as we run down. The pace car neatly pulls away in perfect timing with my grid read. So that is totally planned, believe me. Devon, this track is tight, it's twisty, the dirt gets kicked on it. It's going to be hard while they're racing here, and with a mandatory pit stop, it's going to make things a lot more tactical.
And it really becomes one of my favorite road courses because of how it's basically a roller coaster. When you have these high elevation changes tracks, those are the ones that I really enjoy. Maybe not as a driver all the time because they will have to go up and down hills throughout the track, blind corners. You're not sure where you're always going. But here at Sonoma, the elevation changes is up to 160 feet from the lowest point on track to the highest. That is the same height as the Roman Colosseum. That is the height differences that these drivers have to face when they come to Sonoma. And like you said, on top of that, we already have all the dirt on track. We already have all the other drivers. You have the carousel in this cup version here. So there are so many extra twists and turns, not literally on track, that these drivers have to face when they come to Sonoma. Makes it one of my favorite road courses on the entire service.
Certainly is a diverse one, and I really like it for those factors. Great track here, of course. Turn 1 and Turn 2 is the spicy one. That's the one where you have to be very careful. I think every year we see IndyCar manage to dump it somehow in Turn 2. That's cresting it up under the bridge there at the start of the lap. But as we come down where the NHRA drags are actually held right now, as we come towards the end of that drag strip section here at Sonoma, one of the more famous parts of this, of the NASCAR and IndyCar's participation, we'll come to the keyhole here at the end. This could be a strategic place as well, Devon. So what are great passing opportunities?
Absolutely, because there's not a lot of slipstream drafting opportunities. A lot of the passing comes from just your keen as a driver. So being able to gain on someone when you come to the S's or ducking way down to those final corners as well, that is where you're going to get a lot of passing opportunities if you can have a little bit of a gap on people or a little bit of a drive on others when you're going down those high-speed areas.
Absolutely are. Well, we're getting towards the end of the lap here, and turn 11, 12, depending on which layout we're on. Liam Rizikis, the Canadian driver, leading our field to that final corner now. Will he back up and go early, which is my favorite strategy here, but depends on when they're going to actually go for this one. Through the final corner. A tricky but useful passing opportunity. They're grouped up to wait for the flag. We'll get that any second now. Green flag waves, and they're off here at Sonoma for round number 2 of Season 5 of Operation E-Motorsport at Sonoma Raceway, California. Up under that Toyota bridge now, up to the blind crest of turn 2. It's a blind off-camber climbing turn. It really makes for tricky racing. Parisi, of course, fastest to the GT3 cars tonight in our organization. And he is, of course, GT4 cars, I should say, sorry, beneficiary. With Mason Smotherman for the class behind them there as well. I'm trying to work out who is racing as who right now. Val Asiana may have an O next to her name. The open class, that is, in fact, a GT3, so a pro driver there. Keep your eyes on that one. So far, it's been clean, Devon, through the first part of this lap. I'm really impressed by these guys.
Yeah, great opening to this race, and you talked about how the opening part of this track is tricky. Some of the uphill portions, it almost feels like you're on inverted banking, even into the entry of that corner that you just saw here. Steinbrink on board here, one of our pro class cars right now sitting in that 5th position. As we see them go through the drag strip area right here. This is where just being able to be keen and on your marks matters so much when you're dodging up and down through turn 8, 8A, into 9, and through 10, so you have that long straightaway through turn 11. This is where, if you're able to gain on drivers, this is where you're able, maybe not to make the pass, but begin the initiation to get around cars.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's one of those important places to really start setting it up. And this is a track where you do have to build and set the pass up. It's not something you can just do in one corner. And it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of organization, but it can be achieved and you can get something really good out of this. And, oh, we have a car spun actually after turn 11 there. Trying to work out who that is. It's tough for me to see what actually happened to them. But I believe...
Dan Fendick,
327.
an issue.
Yeah, as Dan Fendick had an issue there coming to the final corner. Not sure what happened to him, but I think he went all the way across from turn 10, actually. So he just slid solo spin. Yeah, that was at a 10. He just spun all the way across there, so he was just hanging out. Looking on board the rear there of Connor Priest. Coming through the upper section here. A lot of elevation in this first section. So this is as much as the Roman Colosseum, while this does result in what we could definitely call gladiatorial combat. But speaking though of, we talked earlier about we saw those videos, the fantastic videos about some of the beneficiaries of Operation Motorsport. We still have Jason Leach with us. So, Jason, I really wanted to just ask you if we could talk about some of the success stories of the organization, whether it's from the beneficiaries themselves or from you guys. Who has this benefited? And let's talk about the nitty-gritty here, the people.
Yeah, so thanks, Rachel. It's all about trying to help the beneficiaries or help the individual rebuild that sense of team identity and purpose. Those are 3 tenets that every veteran struggles with as they get ready to leave the service. But it's even more of a struggle sometimes if you're being medically released or retired, because that's not your own decision, right? The military is telling you you're no longer fit for service, and they're releasing you from duty. So I'd say our programs, that's the whole premise behind everything we do and why they're designed the way they are. But, from a success perspective, there's so many, right? We've got a couple individuals. One individual, Theo, up in Canada, comes to mind. He used his exposure and experience inside of motorsports to go and complete his college degree and get into engineering, to the point that now he's with Tooth Autosport up in Calibogie as a junior race engineer and using those skills from college, using those skills from his military time and also his time with the race team to really help them from a data acquisition and understanding that perspective. He was also our race engineer in the 2019 Race for Remembrance. This year, he'll actually, though, be a beneficiary driver, so he's going to be behind the seat racing a car there at Anglesey. Other folks, they've taken the opportunities with us to where they've actually gone back and petitioned the military to reverse their decision to medically release the individual. There was Kristen down at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. She had success in that, where she was allowed to stay and continue to serve. Because it just gave her new motivation, a new way to go back and kind of seek exactly what was important to her, and at that time for her it was continuing her military career.
It is absolutely fantastic to hear these things. We just had Dan Vendick spin again out of turn 10. Man's having some trouble here. He can't manage to tie this one up, unfortunately. That car's not happy in turn 10 there. But Jason, obviously, there's more than just the physical involved with these guys and medical discharges. You have veterans who've left the service of their own accord. They've returned to Civvy Street, they've returned to life after deployment, after service. And it's not always the visible wounds. that Operation Motorsport can help to heal, is it?
No, absolutely, and really, when if you come to a race, you come to an SRO or an IMSA or FEO Motorsports event, and we have beneficiaries in with the team, chances are your average person looking at that team will never know it. So when we embed with the team or the series, our folks are wearing the same uniform that their teams are. They're in there, doing whatever needs to be done in order to be a part of that team. So most people would never know, and it's interesting. We just had this conversation the other day of, we let them tell their story on their own accord. We don't try to highlight them as whatever their challenges may be. It's up to them to feel comfortable around their new teammates and share what they want. But at the same time, from a nonprofit perspective, that can be kind of hard to when you watch the videos, that you saw here a little while ago. You wouldn't know that these individuals they struggle with whatever's next for them in life. So it is those invisible wounds. There are so many veterans and even still serving military members that are challenged with that. Myself, some could argue I've probably had my own challenges as I left the military. So every veteran story is unique. But it's about building trust with that individual to tell the story. And I see we have some issues here on track, so I'm going to pause.
Yeah, once we come back, we'll have a quick chat, because I believe Devin has a good question for you. But we had some issues up there in the top half of the racetrack. Devin, did you see what happened?
Not quite. We're going to take a look back at it, though, and this one comes through this elevation change area. And it's just a little tag right there, and that's all it's going to take in order to cause a massive pileup because of just how thin these straightaways are. Some people just trying to avoid reaction time, and that's a blind area of the track. So these guys are coming out of that corner through that uphill, and they can't really see exactly what the damage is here.
No, they can't. Even poor Dan Fendick getting caught. Actually, no, it wasn't. It's the 119. Jason McSparron got caught in that as well, unfortunately, there. Yeah, really tough section of the track. But Devin, you had a question for Jason, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it's great to remember that Operation E-Motorsport is a branch. This is a real-world organization, real-world racing organization with Operation Motorsport. And so my question for you, Jason, is the fact that we have so many broad amount of iRacers in this group here, military members, veterans, so on and so forth. Why, for you guys, did you feel the need to go to sim racing? Why make this an addition to part of what Operation Motorsport is and hop onto iRacing to kind of just enhance and enlarge the scope that you guys have?
Yeah, so it's a great question, right? I mean, like the real racing world, with COVID and everything starting up, at the beginning of 2020, everybody had to take a pause, right? Real world activations shut down, and we had to develop a way in order to stay engaged with our beneficiaries and help expand our brand in our network. And really what started off as kind of a trial run of 6 races one day, and I helped put them together. I was doing the live streaming that you guys are doing. Nowhere near the quality that you guys are doing, because I had no idea how to do this stuff at the time. And it really, though, was a way for us to build a program just to stay engaged. And what it turned into was identifying a whole different crowd of veterans and military members that otherwise we would never have found, because they're not necessarily coming out to the races, or in some cases, some folks feel they're not ready to step out of their homes or step out of those safe spaces that they may have and re-engage with their community or re-engage with the public. So we have found that this is a great way to stay engaged. In addition to what you're seeing here tonight, Chris Ramirez, our e-motorsports program manager, he has put together a couple OPMO racing teams to go out and do endurance races on the larger iRacing events. Additionally, we've also got some partners on the ACC side that we're looking to reconnect with and even expand over into that side, because again, that's a whole nother type of sim platform that we want to get back involved with.
And for those who are only a part of Operation E-Motorsport for on-track operations, I will say, when you hear from those who are just part of the sim racing side of things, not quite on the real-life track or working on the real-life cars at the real-life tracks, what have you heard from them as to what this sim racing program specifically has done for them?
It's about rebuilding that community, connecting and expanding their own network, especially on the veteran side, right? On our Discord channel, we've got a separate beneficiary only section to where they can go in and share their stories, or they can go in and talk about whatever their challenges are in amongst people who can really relate and connect. But additionally, they're also helping each other out. If it's, I could talk about the VA disability program and process all day long, and unfortunately that program in and of itself, it really depends on where you're separating from as far as the quality of care or the attention to detail that your application packet is getting, which could really impact what your VA disability may be at the end of the day. And for some of these guys and gals, that can really have a major impact on how they're able to sustain financially once they leave the military. So what we've seen in that room is guys and gals kind of sharing their stories, sharing their experiences, talking about lessons learned, because there's no roadmap for any of this stuff when you leave the military. You're kind of left under your own devices to kind of figure it out on your own. And unless you have that network, unless you have people who have gone before you, you can kind of ask questions of or pick their brains about what they did or what they learned in the process. A lot of mistakes, unfortunately, can be made that are hard to come back from once you're actually out of the military.
Fantastic question, a fantastic answer there from Jason. We'll speak to him again in just a little moment, but on track stuff, we've had a big shake-up here. The pro field's been really shaken here, of course. Liam Rizek is your leader, involved in that incident we had earlier in the SSR before the shoot. Unfortunately for him, in fact, him, Rodney Campbell, Tyler Guillemette, all out of this one, down the order, I should say, along with Scott Andrews, Val Asieno, and Tyler Reed. Current leader is Matt Smotherman up front for your pros, dealing with lap traffic right now. Hunter Reeves put 4.7 behind him. Connor Parisi, though, he is clearing the way here. He's up front. He's got a good run here. That Mercedes is looking strong today. Behind him is Mason Smotherman leading your open class. And they are not far behind each other, about 1 second gap, and they're racing each other toe-to-toe here. They are in the same car, of course, GT4s, so they're on an equal footing here. And open or beneficiary class, they don't care. They're going to try and beat each other. Adam Poppenhaus is 3 seconds adrift of those two. He's second in the beneficiary class, with Brian Winker behind him for the open class. We will be talking about the other Winker shortly in the broadcast. John Winker, that is, I believe, are they brothers or father-son, Jason?
Brothers,
there we go. We'll talk to the other brother. We'll talk about him, I should say, because he's our beneficiary spotlight for tonight. So we'll get a chance to chat to him. But we're not seeing the pit stops yet. We'll see those about halfway, so that might make the rundown a little interesting in terms of our running order. But we'll work with that as we can. Of course, this race is an important thing, not just because, as obviously Jason said, that diversionary therapy, that benefit there of continuing something during a trying time globally, which of course isolated everybody, Jason, not just veterans and service members. It isolated everyone, so it must have made things doubly hard for that sort of environment. So a great thing you've gotten here. But in that same regard, and this is maybe a slightly more difficult question, but does this open up opportunities for those veterans with injuries that might preclude them from being involved in the real world activities?
Help me understand what you mean by preclude, because I would tell you, for example, we have Adam Poppenhaus racing, and he's a double amputee that races at Sim Racing World, and he came, and there he is right now. He had his first activation with us at Road America this past weekend, where he was embedded with Skip Barber Racing as a crew member. So I would tell you that if a double amputee can be successful here in the sim racing world, and then we can get him or that individual into the real world where he's a valued member of the team, and they want him back for future events. That to me says it all. As far as there's nothing stopping anybody from being successful across both worlds.
You know what? I take that question back, because that just proves the point here that. You can really do anything, and Operation Motorsports is here to help people do that. And honestly, it's one of those subjects that's really hard, I think, for a lot of people to understand, Jason. But look, I guess a final, really hard, more tough question, I suppose, for this chat. But there's something different, I think, about service members and veterans that have been through these life-changing experiences. There's just so much more drive that they have compared to perhaps civilians when it comes to getting back in the saddle, as it were.
Well, absolutely, right, and that's every veteran you've ever come across, or that's every military member that's rose their right hand across. I don't care what country you're in. If it's a volunteer military, they all step off into that unknown, and they take that leap of faith, and they want to give back to something that's higher than them, even if they're chasing college money or student repayment loans, what have you. Right, but at the end of the day, they're choosing to serve. You get around those environments where you're around, again, like-minded people driving towards one mission, one goal. In the battlefield or in the military, it's achieving that mission objective. In deployments or in combat, whatever it may be, and then you come back out of that world, and that's something that's really missing. And it's hard. It's hard to find that again in civilian life, right? But that's where the sporting community, and that's where really, Tiffany and Diesel Lauder, who co-founded and founded this organization in 2017, that's where they really saw the opportunity and the parallels between motorsports and military service, in that small team environment, working towards one common goal. And anybody that served, and I know, Rachel, you can attest to this, on the day of competition or the day of your operation, Murphy is going to throw a curveball at you that you probably didn't plan for, but you're going to have to overcome it together as a team to continue moving towards your objective. Motorsports is no different. You're just trying to get that driver to the top of the podium, but it takes an entire crew behind them to make that happen.
It's often said that no plan survives first contact with the enemy, but I'm pretty sure it's more accurate to say that no plan ever functions the way it's intended.
Absolutely
in any
not.
context whatsoever. Nothing goes as planned. That's just a given.
But once you've learned how to overcome those challenges as a team, and once you kind of get through and you have those bonds, God, they're so hard to separate, and they're so hard to break, and then it almost becomes a natural part of your life. And outside the military, people are seeking to be a part of those things again, something a little bit bigger than themselves, but that's that team dynamic, working together, no selfless, no one's or selfish, right? They all want to help each other out.
It absolutely is. And, the drivers might be the famous ones when it comes to racing, but they're nothing without the team behind them. And they know that, they are just one cog. It's like the pilot in an F-16. Yeah,
exactly.
The pilot in the F-16, but without the crew chief, without, the mechanics, without, the fuel guys, without the armament guys. They've got no plane,
Exactly. That's the way I explain it to somebody, using the military aircraft terminology and idea, right? When you think about this stuff. And really, this is what makes our iRacing League so successful, because everybody here has a shared story to some extent, or there's a shared bond between them, and that's why you don't see people purposely taking each other out. That's why you don't see people racing each other dirty. I mean, people are going to make mistakes, right? Because we have a full range of experience in this league, between guys like Matt Smotherman, who's running at the top of the leaderboard here and is just fast out the gate, to the guy who just got his sim rig put together like 2 weeks ago. They're just here though to support each other, have a good time, and make each other more successful. No one here is self-serving.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, Jason Leach, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to let you go off and take care of important matters, as we're approaching the halfway point in this race tonight. So thank you for sticking around longer with us tonight. We really appreciate you having the opportunity to talk to the viewers and to us.
Absolutely. Again, guys, great broadcast. I know you got a lot more that you guys got to get down on your plate, but thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the race.
We love having you. Thank you very much, Jason. And there's Jason Leach, of course, Chief Operating Officer of Operation Motorsport. Well, Devin, on the track, things are starting to get a little busy. There's some fighting going on in our pro class. Connor and Mason are still together. In fact, Connor's still leading that grouping there. Adam Poppenhaus is caught up behind them here. And yeah, that's one thing I think I can agree with Jason on there, is that there is a real honor. Not just sportsmanship, but honor in this series. People treat each other fair. Yeah, there are accidents, but that's the operative word. They're accidents. They're mistakes.
And
cars will do weird things sometimes,
I think one thing this game missed in iRacing and other sim racing and video game platforms is the fact that it's supposed to be fun. There is nothing like getting together with either your current buddies or people who are going to become your buddies and just going out and racing. And when those accidents do happen, a lot of times when you're racing with your buddies, you kind of laugh it off and you have a good time in the sim, on the racetrack, in the video game, whatever kind of platform that you might be using. So that's one thing that I think that these guys here, they have a lot of fun, I'm thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself. A couple of cars having a bit of a trip, a vacation, a sojourn. The 78 is that's Elliot Whitefield, beneficiary, taking a trip through the grass there. Grass, sand even. I can't say his name properly because I keep... For context, those of you who watch the broadcast, my name is Rachel Whiteford. I get called Whitefield, every other variation you can possibly imagine. So when I see Whitefield, I want to correct it to Whiteford. But that is, in this case, not correct. It's just a natural instinct to correct that name, so I have to fight myself every time I say it. But unfortunate trip in the sand for him there. Yeah, so we're starting to see some cars hitting pit road here, Devon. 45% fuel means they are forced to pit stop, and we're expecting that to be within kind of a wiggle room of the middle 20 minutes of the race here. Everyone seems to be going for a halfway split.
Exactly, that's very interesting because now with only less than 10 minutes, after to go in this race, you see guys starting to come down pit road now in the final third of this event. This is already a sprint race. It's a 30-minute event. You're never really stopping that pressure that you're trying to put on the guy in front of you and on yourself as well. So now that you're kind of splitting up this race how you want it to, you split the race at this point into about 2/3 and 1/3. So however much you were just absolutely going all out in that first 2/3 of the race, that is where now the urgency is going to become massively intense here in this final third of the race, because you're going in, gain that, maybe not full tank, but fuller tank back to how the car was a little bit ago. So as we see cars coming down pit road and getting their service done, guys like Ed Nelson right now P6 in the pro category, we'll see if he's able to put on some pressure and try to pick up some spots as the fuel cycle continues to spin.
Yeah, they certainly are trying to get this thing balanced out and keep these cars flowing around the track. But, of course, we're seeing definitely traction being an issue around this one. It's definitely up and down. They're having some real struggles with keeping these things in a straight line. But that's just Sonoma in general. The curbs here are massive. You need to understand that one. These curbs are huge. They might look small, but I truly believe iRacing scanned this during the NASCAR weekend. These ain't no IndyCar curbs.
Well, you know what? I think they did scan on NASCAR weekend. I can tell because all the grass is dead, right? That's the only time that seems like there's an actual event at Sonoma is when the grass is dead with NASCAR. So, but to that point, first of all, hitting the grass absolutely sends your car, well, the dead grass sends your car going crazy. You see that curbing right there when you're coming off of turn 10. If you hit that grass right there, it really wants to make the car unsettle, especially in these sports cars here as well. So there's a lot of different variations of ways to mess yourself up to Sonoma when you're trying to push as much as you can in these final 7 minutes. Man, accidents and mistakes are bound to happen.
Yeah, they really are. And I'll use Conor Parisi as an example here. He is fast right now. We're looking at him on the track, but leading all the GT4 cars, combined beneficiaries and open classes here. He's driving a Mercedes. Now, this is a front-engine car, and I want to kind of just mention something about the race car's behavior here. We've got a lot of the rear-engine cars and mid-engine cars in this race, and they will struggle more on a track like this because your weight balance can get thrown off by those huge curbs. The Mercedes, however, loves it. It's front-engined. It's a really stiff race car. It's tight, and it will struggle when it comes to these corners because it doesn't really want to turn. If you watch Connor, you'll see him clobbering these curbs. He's hitting those things like they owe him money. Why? Because it helps that thing rotate. You could drive this thing like a stock car around Sonoma. In fact, honestly, the Mercedes is one of the cars that really benefits at this track or tracks like this. Another one would be the Quebec, Gilles Villeneuve. Again, scanned during the NASCAR weekend when that was still a thing. It's the big curbs. It loves them. Like, you can really get the car to rotate. When you've got a very stiff car, using those curbs, getting up on them can help you twist that car around. It helps to shift the weight balance. And that could be an advantage, a real advantage for these guys. So it's one thing to keep an eye on, of course. And you're seeing him there, double apex in that final corner, but that's another thing. Again, it's just not going to rotate as easily as those mid and rear engine machines. But if you learn to hit those curbs right, you can really get some speed up, and he is doing exactly that. Mason, behind him, he's running one of the rear-engine Ferraris, or the mid-engine, no, Aston Martin, I should say, sorry there. And you'll see him just driving a little different with how this thing goes. In fact, is the Aston? No, the Aston's front engine as well, so that's why he's also doing pretty well here. They've really got some good speed up. We've had a lot of incidents for your GT3 cars. They're all rear and mid-engined. So there's a bit of a trend going on. I believe third place in GT4 is also front-engined. Then we have another Aston Martin, and then it's a BMW, and then we get down towards Astons. No, I think is everyone just driving them? Yep, everyone's driving those cars. My point has been ruined because everyone's driving front-engine cars today. Quite literally everyone. Darn it.
Well, how about another wrinkle that this kind of racing brings? We already talked about what the mindset is in these sprint races. We see one car kind of going off the track there. It's also the point that we have over 30 cars between these two classes who started this event. And then everyone kind of had a different idea of what they wanted to do fuel-wise. So it became a race where you have all of these different cars. Maybe there's not different kinds of classes, but we have a different manufacturer for every couple of cars on the field, it looks like. But when everyone gets spread out and now you're facing other kinds of cars, when you have the sprint race and everyone's on different kind of fuel strategy, that's another wrinkle where that's not something you see in a typical sprint race. So that just kind of adds to the wrinkles of what you need to do to be successful in a race like this here at Sonoma for Operation E-Motorsport.
Yeah, absolutely is. And it really does have a huge impact, of course, on those factors. Well, folks, right now we're passing the halfway point in the race, so we are going to, of course, have a quick chat or talk, I should say, about our beneficiary of this race. That is John Winker. Now, John joined the Army as an infantryman in 2006 and deployed to Iraq in 2009. Whilst in Iraq, he was involved in an accident that resulted in the amputation of his left leg below the knee. He was medically discharged in 2011, and motorsports has played a huge role in his recovery, and it ultimately led to the creation of a veteran non-profit called Resilience Racing Foundation. The Resilience Racing Foundation is a veteran organisation committed to advancing adaptive hand control technologies and harnessing the profound benefits of motorsport therapy, very similar to Operation Motorsport, for disabled veterans through competitive racing. When he's not racing or working with veterans, he works as Director of IT for a technology holding company. He holds an SCCA competitive racing license and has raced with SCCA, NASA, and Champ Car, and he lives in Wisconsin with Ashley, his wife of 13 years, and his two children, Tyler, 7, and Callie, 5. He started iRacing in 2020 when all race events in real life were cancelled, and the Operation E-Motorsport iRacing League came at the perfect time for him. It allowed him to stay connected with veterans that share the passion for motorsport that he holds, and allowed him to keep practicing his racing skills, so definitely a huge beneficiary of this series in particular, but a heck of a career, of course, for a guy like that, so impressive work. John Winker is our beneficiary spotlight tonight. His brother, in fact, is racing in the supporters category, the open class, tonight. We'll take a look at our actual rundown on our fields here tonight. Oh my gosh, okay, we just had a heckin' moment there under the bridge. Oh gosh, that was the 82. That is not Connor Parisi. It's the other car in the same livery, or similar livery, I should say. They just had that's Brian Knight. Unfortunately, Papa Knight got clobbered there, as I believe it was the 999 had a whoopsie doodle, that's a 666, I should say, of Martin Wallace. Got up the middle of him, and oh gosh, that was up the middle of him and Parisi. Got sideways and just slapped Papa Knight into the barriers there. Oh, golly, that nearly clobbered Connor there. That's he did actually hit Connor towards the end there as he came through as well. So unfortunate there. That Ferrari made its own room on the racetrack. He looked like he lost traction though. I think Devon is probably the best explanation for that. He tried to go up the middle and just couldn't hold it.
Yeah, and that's one of those tricky parts where you're going uphill. And going into turn 1 is so underrated, especially, I mean, we had a clog of cars right there, and we are 29 minutes into this event. So, yeah, when you're going up there, especially on a little bit older tires, depending on how much acceleration you have, it's really easy to get yourself crossed up going into 1.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And speaking of which, we're just going to talk about our rundown and our classes here. In the Pro class, Matt Smotherman is leading here today. Looks like he's in a pretty solid position. 15 seconds clear of second, Hunter Reeve, with Taylor Parsons in third there, who is a further 30 seconds back. Down in your beneficiaries class, it's Connor Parisi with Adam Poppenhouse in second and Greg Meismer in third. In your open class, it is Mason Smotherman with Jesse Elliott in second and Rick Haslett in third there. that is, yeah, we got a little bit of shake-up during that run through there. But, wow, that was crazy, of course. But the race is still going good here. And these guys are still absolutely honestly, we've got racing throughout the field here, Devin.
And this is the final lap, so everyone coming to the checkered flag this time by, where they sit is where they're going to play. So this is your final chance to grab those spots.
Yeah, it really is. They've got to really push it here. Matt's looking pretty clear. Connor is still fighting for the honor here of the GT4 class overall. This is okay. So Greg is in the open class. We've got a little bit of things shaking around there with number boards, but a fantastic run by Connor. Got one of the GT3 cars coming through on him there, but he's holding this one strong, and it's great to see him actually winning what I'm going to say is the combined GT4 classes here of this thing. Well, not yet, but he will be this time by. It's great to see that because the beneficiaries in the open, they're in the same car, and there's no difference. There's an absolute parity here. The beneficiaries are no worse or better than the open class drivers, but they are being supported, of course, and working with Operation Motorsport. The beneficiaries, the open class drivers, I should say, as he comes out the final corner here, take the lead here. It's great to see this open competition. I absolutely love it. But coming across the line, this will be, I believe, the checkered flag this time by. Or is it the white flag for that class? I'm not sure. Matt, I think, has had it. He stopped. That's checkered flag. So Connor will hold the win there. Mason will come across now. Oh, no, he spun out in the final corner. Oh, ooh. Mason has stopped in turn 12.
He's
trying to find a way through. I think he might not. Yeah, he's out of gas. He did not pit at all.
Wow.
Turns out 45% fuel is too short, and that car's got no go. Unfortunately, the motion lotion is no longer present, and race car does not go burr. That is really tragic for poor Mason there. He's not going to get anywhere. He's got nothing. He can't even roll it. It's actually an uphill to the start-finish line, so he's got no hope of that. Oh, that is... Oh, no. Are we going to see people push him here? Yeah, we're going to see people push him. This is the team spirit we're talking about here. This is the team spirit of Operation Motorsport. We're going to see him get pushed to the line here by, I believe that's the 5. That's the 8 car, sorry. Coming through here to push him to the line.
And we got more pushing going on. I think if you guys try to go all the way on fuel, they didn't believe that 45 wasn't enough.
Yeah, he's pushing somebody else as well. But look at this. Coming to the line here. Mason Smotherman will get across the line with a push from the 8 car. Tyler Guillemette helping him across the line there. That's the team spirit here. I'm sorry, but that is what makes this series unlike anything you could possibly imagine. That's racing.
It's all about the fun. It's all about the fun here.
It is. Well, folks, we'll get our running order here as we get down the classes. Everyone's across the line now with some help in some cases, but no, we're still seeing... I think... Is he still pushing with this speed? It's Rosicka's pushing here. Oh, no, they're going to pit road. Okay, they're through. We'll go to our finishing order here at Sonoma, California. Coming home in your pro class with the win, it is going to be Matt Smotherman there. Second place, Hunter Reeve with Taylor Parsons in 3rd. Joe Stiffel 4th, Ed Nelson 5th. Martin Wallace in 6th place. Mario Gonzalez 7th. Liam Rosickas in 8th place with Jared Rodeheaver in 9th. Tyler Guillemette in 10th. 11th is going to be Rodney Campbell. Jason McSparron in 12th. Connor Parisi wins beneficiary category tonight. Val Asiano is actually in the open class, I believe pro class. It's just flagged wrong here. So they are in open in 13th. Pro in 13th. Confusing even me. Mason Smotherman comes across the line. I believe somehow still with the win in your open class. That's incredible. Jesse Elliott is in 2nd place there with Ryder Poppenhouse in the beneficiary class. Rick Haslett, Greg Meismer, John Winker. And behind them, we have Brian Winker, Scott Andrews, Charles Bushell, Dan Fendick, Joshua O'Connor from the beneficiaries, Jake Porter, Philip Chartier, Brian Knight there, Papa Knight from the beneficiaries, Tyler Reed, John Fix, and we have the USO car there. And Elliot Whitefield with Jake Steinbrink and Brock Hogan. Well, that is fantastic. I love that story. Oh, wow. And he still won the class. That is amazing. That's awesome. Sorry, that's put a smile on my face tonight. I needed something nice tonight, and that was it. That's the racing spirit here, the teamwork in Operation eMotorsport that really does things. But yeah, that is fantastic. We're going to have our chance to chat to the beneficiary podium tonight. And Devon, I believe you're actually standing by with Adam Poppenhaus, who will be joining us right now.
See if we can get Adam in here. So, Adam, you had yourself a pretty hectic race. You have everybody looking around, and there are a lot of cars flying every which way. A sprint race that there were a lot of cars scattered around the track. So, what did it take to just have some consistency and run this race down?
Oh, a lot of concentration. That was really, really tough. It was really, really slick. I had very little confidence going into the race with my new hand throttle setup, so I'm very happy with how it went. My goal was P2 and a bonus point, so I think we accomplished those goals, and my teammates had good finishes. So all in all, it was a great run.
And when you come to Sonoma, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's not. But it looked like a lot of people were dealing with that traction issue. What did it take on your end to make sure that car didn't get sent out from under you and you're able to keep all four tires underneath you and keep that car pointed straight?
I really tried to concentrate on coming on and off the brakes smoothly. Getting to the threshold quickly, but also not jamming on them, and then coming off smoothly in a transition to power nice and easy. A lot of half throttle at apex and making sure that the car's pointing in the right direction before it's boogie time.
And who do you have to thank for bringing this thing home with a great finish here tonight?
As always, Operation Motorsport. I had the honor and opportunity to go out to the SRO races this weekend at Road America with the Skip Barber team and hang out with the Operation Motorsports crew there. So just can't say enough about what this organization does and what it means to me. This is just another example of the great things they're doing. And as far as myself and Resilience Racing, we're always happy to be a part of anything they do.
Still early in the season. Congratulations on a great finish for you, Adam.
Thank you very much, sir. You guys are doing a great job up there.
Well, it was Adam Poppenhaus who came home today in second, and we have now got a chance to chat to Connor Parisi, who came home today with the win in your beneficiary class. A cracking race out there, Connor. That was a really busy one.
Yeah, thank you. It was all about trying to minimize mistakes, and saving gas was the theme of my night. Trying to survive, GT3s coming through, and obviously it's very slick out there, so happy to save just enough gas. I think I had an extra lap in there.
Yeah, I think you just about did. Seems like a lot of people didn't, though. But I want to, obviously, a very busy race throughout. But tell me about that. What was it? 2-3 laps to the end. 1 and 2. With the GT3 car in the middle of you and the other Mercedes. Were you wearing the brown fire suit?
Yeah, I figured I'm going to aim for, very inside going up the hill. And if I survive, great. There's nothing I can do else at this point, and if not, it's just the nature of the beast of multi-class racing. Luckily, it worked out for me. I'm not sure if anything extracurricular went on inside of me, but happy to keep the this Apex Gaming PC Mercedes clean through that corner.
Yeah, you certainly did. The Mercedes really seems to love this track. You definitely seem to love the curbs from what I saw tonight.
Yeah, I think this Mercedes really fits my driving style. I haven't really messed with any of the other GT4s, so I'm not sure, what they're like. But I like the way this one looks, so that's why I picked it, and it's working well for me. Last season, I didn't like the GT3s. I just don't like the all the traction control and ABS and all that. So these feel a little bit more raw. So I'm feeling a little bit better behind the wheel. These ones.
That's certainly one way to put it. A fantastic run tonight. Anybody like to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to thank Apex Gaming PCs coming on board. We got a tier system of pre-built PCs. So if you guys are looking for a PC, hit me up. We got code CP11. That's up to $250 off at checkout. We also have Next Level Racing, Pimax, 10.7 Race Reps, JBE, and the whole crew at Opmo. It's great to be with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Coming home with the win today, Connor Parisi, and he puts More points on the board here for the Air Force, by the way, which means we end up actually with, it's real close here between them and the Army. But we actually have got now Devin Henry with Jonathan Winker, who came in third.
Yeah, John Winker ends up on the podium, our beneficiary driver spotlight today as well. First and foremost, when you take a look at how this track was, a lot of guys run out of fuel, spinning out. What did it take to keep this car pointed straight that entire time, bring it home on the podium?
I was just trying for consistency.
And you got the opportunity to race today with your brother in this event. What exactly has this race meant to you to be able to come out here, race with all these guys, and be on track with your brother as well?
These events have been fantastic. It gives me some time to actually sit down and focus on something that I enjoy doing. Helps take my mind off of the pain and some of the other troubles I have. These have been absolutely great.
And this is a very short race. In the grand scheme of things, a 30-minute race is basically a sprint race. But what did you learn throughout the course of this race, even maybe through the practices beforehand, that you kind of learned and got you better at this track to wind you up on the podium?
Well, I think one of the challenging things at this track is it seems like almost every time you go through a corner, it's a little bit different. The grip level seems to change, especially when you have cars going off track in front of you. That dirt gets slung up, and you can definitely feel it.
And although it is a podium, I always do like to ask, what else do you think you would have needed tonight to go and get yourself a win here at Sonoma?
Probably just some more practice.
Well, John, congratulations on the podium finish. Who do you have to thank for coming home with a great finish here tonight?
I'd just like to thank our title sponsors, which are Skip Barber Racing School and Redline Oil.
Well, John, congratulations on putting on a show. It's great to watch you. Congrats on the podium finish.
Thank you.
Well, a fantastic race tonight for everybody, and this does actually leave us with the Army on 7 points, Navy still on a big fat life ring 0, Air Force on 5. This is tight this season between the guys in the sky and the guys on the ground. As we just previously mentioned, the Space Force is on -10 for showing up, and the Coast Guard's on +10 for showing up. So technically they're winning just for participating. Yeah, because they help people. We like that. But either way, folks, a fantastic run round Sonoma tonight. Crazy racing. Really enjoyed that one. We have Mosport coming up next week, which is going to be wild. And I just want to tell you something about Operation Motorsport here. They are a veteran-led and operated not-for-profit based in Brighton, Ontario and Raleigh, North Carolina. They serve Canadian and American service members and veterans and was founded on the basis of 3 simple words: excite, engage, and empower. The premise is to engage ill and injured service members and veterans affected by military service through motorsport activities to aid in their recovery and rehabilitation. To find out more information about them, please visit operationmotorsport.org. Thank you to the series partners of Operation eMotorsport, iRacing League, iRacing, and the USO of North Carolina. For Jason Leach, Diesel Loader, Chris Ramirez, and the entire Operation Motorsport team, for Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, John Theodore at Podium Esport, Cameron Builder Dougie Beard, Cameron Obernon on social media, my colleague this evening in the booth, Devin Henry, Ryan Bauer on the cameras. I am your host, Rachel Whiteford. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the Operation eMotorsport iRacing League, and we wish you a good night, and we will see you next week.